Hi everyone! Today I've decided to do my entire TBR video. In this video I'm only going to talk about my physical books that I own. There are quite a few books on my e-reader that I'm interested in reading, but I'm not going to talk about them in this video. I might do a separate video. I don't have loads and loads of books, physical books on my TBR, but there are still quite a few. And I think they'll take me a few months. I'm not going to go into much detail about every single book because otherwise this video will be way too long. So I'm just going to give you a very quick kind of general gist of each book so that you will have an idea of what it is about. I'm going to start with the two books that I'm currently reading. I'm not including any of the library books because I don't have to read them. I'm just currently reading them. But I'm going to talk about the books that I own. The first one that I started ages ago in summer was the historical guide about Great Britain. It is written in Russian and it is what it is. It is like a history about some of the places, how they were built, why they were built, and some kind of other things. It has some nice lovely pictures. I'm absolutely enjoying reading this book, even though I don't have much time to read now. I'm still really enjoying it. The other book that I started in September was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I'm halfway through this book, luckily. It is a very good book. It is about this man Laszlo Strange who's been obsessed with the city called Dweep, which was somehow mysteriously lost, and now he has an opportunity to try and find it. It is a really good book. It's quite a big one as well, so that's why it's taking me ages, but it's also a very slow going book, but in a good way because it's very magical and absolutely lovely. So I'm enjoying it a lot. Now moving on to two series that I own and have started but haven't finished yet. First of all is Percy Jackson's series. I've got only two books left on my TBR because I read the first three books and I really want to continue reading the fourth book. But I can't yet because I'm reading like 6 books at a time at the moment, so I need to finish them before I read a different book. So it's the fourth book, Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian, and the fifth book, Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, obviously by Rick Riordan. I am very excited about completing the series, continuing with the series, so hopefully one day that will happen. And if by any chance you didn't know, it is kind of a Greek mythology fantasy middle grade novel. Another series that I've read only the first book from, and that was in summer, and I would really like to continue reading the series like now, but I can't again, so I'm just waiting to finish the books that I'm currently reading to be able to finally continue this lovely series. And that is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I've got the rest 5 books, as you can see from the box, to finish, which are City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and the last one, City of Heavenly Fire. Oh my god, they smell so good. So this kind of I'm not sure how to explain it, but there are some different kind of creatures, and there are shadow hunters which kind of hunt those creatures. I am terrible at explaining it, but it is a young adult kind of fantasy series. I read the first book from the series and I really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars, and I really wanted to continue on with the series, even though I read the Infernal Devices trilogy by the same author, set in the same world but in the past. Absolutely loved it, so I'm enjoying this series as well. Now moving on to the books that I own for quite some time now. Some of them it has been a year since I've bought them, but haven't read them yet. The first one is this smallest, cutest book I've ever seen. It is poems by Alexander Pushkin, which is obviously a Russian poet. It is tiny. Look at this writing and everything. It is the tiniest thing, and I got it as a small kind of present from my family to have a piece of Russia in England. It is so cute, and I'm definitely going to at some point read it. Poetry and classics, Russian classics, is not something that I really enjoy, but I'm still excited to read this at some point. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I promise I will read this book. Moving on to 3 blind date with a book books that I got from Waterstones last year, in February or March this year. I don't know a ton about them because they're obviously blind date with book, so I know nothing about them. The first one is this one, but I think it was wrong because it was described as something to do with the music, and this looks like just a thriller. Playing with Fire by Sainsburys or Gerritsen, I'm not exactly sure. It looks like a thriller book to me. I don't want to read what's on the back, and don't tell me if you know anything about it, because I want to go into it without knowing anything about it. The other one is supposed to be a historical fiction YA novel, beautifully written. That's all I know about it. The Morning Gift by Eva Ibbotson. That is the only thing I know. I quite like the cover of it. It's quite a big book, 500 or so pages, and sounds quite cute, and I'm really looking forward to reading it at some point. And the last book from the blind date with a book section, it is this book. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. The Prestige by Christopher Priest. I believe it is science fiction, kind of almost modern classic or something like that. And I read the back of this book. It is about two magicians who are competing with each other, and that's all I know about it, to be honest. I forgot to explain the concept of the book, right? Of the blind date with a book. I mean, so in Waterstones there would be a section of blind date with a book. There will be several books wrapped in brown paper. You wouldn't be able to see the cover or the title of it, and there will be a couple of sentences written about this book, like what genre it is or what it deals with or something like that. A couple of topics, and you just pick up a book without knowing what it is and pay for it, obviously. So I quite like this concept, and that's why I have 3 books, but I haven't read any of them yet. The 3 other books, I bought them all in a supermarket, Sainsburys, and they were all much cheaper than they would normally be. The first one is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I am very excited about reading this book, but now my mood for reading it has passed, so I don't know when I'll be reading this book. But it is a historical fiction set in England, I believe. Yeah, London, the 19th century. And it is about this woman and someone else who are dealing with this creature from the myths. Apparently this creature that is supposed to be a myth exists in real life or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, I might be completely wrong, but that is the book that I'm very, very excited about. Sounds really good to me, and I have very, very high hopes for this book, so hopefully I will enjoy it. Another one is The Muse by Jessie Burton. I read her The Miniaturist book. I liked it. I had quite a few problems with it. I had some problems with it, but this book sounds really, really good. It's basically about this masterpiece which got lost somehow, and this woman working in a gallery suddenly knows something that no one else knows about it. So it's kind of like a sort of, there's like a mystery behind it or something, and it is set in the 20th century. I am actually very excited about reading this book. I don't know when I'll be reading it. And the last book from Sainsburys was Lost for Words by Stephanie Butland, and it is set in a bookshop mostly. I believe it sounds very kind of cheesy, romantic kind of story, but I'm not exactly sure. So it's basically about this girl who prefers reading books than talking to people, and there are suddenly some kind of her past reveals, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I absolutely love the cover of this book. It is gorgeous, and one day I will read this book. I just don't know when that day will come, to be honest. Moving on to more recent books. From my latest book haul, I bought 4 books from London in Waterstones in London, and I'm just going to show them to you now. The first one is Marking Moonlight by Emma Cox. It is supposed to be a children's book about a cat who's trying to find his place in the world. Sounds absolutely cute. It has got quite a few lovely illustrations that are really, really cute, and I believe it's going to be a very heartwarming, lovely children's book, which I quite like books like that. The next one is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I've been wanting this book for quite a while. I'm intrigued by the format of this book. It is a science fiction novel set in space, on a spaceship in which a very dangerous disease has spread, and now people are trying to survive. It sounds really, really good. I love books set in space, and the format of this book is really unique, kind of like emails and other bits and bobs, and so I'm very, very intrigued by this book. Another book that I'm very excited about, and the one that I'm probably gonna be reading possibly soon, that is The School for Good and Evil by... Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the author's name. It is set in a magic school. I love books about magical schools. And there are two main characters. One of them always wanted to be a princess, and the other one is kind of like a witch. That is all I know about this book. Again, the cover is absolutely beautiful, and I look forward to reading it, even though for a middle grade novel, it's a 500-page book. Quite a long one, but I'm so excited about it. And it also has got some nice, lovely illustrations throughout it. So I'm very excited about reading this one a lot. The last book from London is Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funke. And it is about this boy and his dragon who are trying to find a place where all the dragons live. It sounds absolutely lovely and magical, and apparently this was written several years ago, like 10 years ago or even maybe more, I'm not exactly sure. And again, it has lovely illustrations. I read the Inca trilogy by this author and I quite enjoyed it, especially the first book, so I have high hopes for this book, especially considering it's middle grade fantasy, which I seem to love a lot. And the last book on my TBR, the latest one that I got from my friend from Russia, is this book. I still haven't found the original title of this. The author is Georgia Moyes. It is set in this lovely little shop which sells different random things, and I believe it's going to be a romance novel, and it sounds quite cozy, and hopefully I will really enjoy this book a lot. So these are all of the books, physical books, that I own at the moment, all of my entire TBR. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, if you loved any of them, or if you're planning to read any of them. I would love to know that. Or let me know if there are some books that you would highly suggest that I read very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!